Graphic design students, it's time for our next project using motion in Photoshop. This one's called the 2.5D parallax effect, and it's going to be your first exposure to the video timeline in Photoshop. And in order to start this project, I want you to download the image of LeBron that you can find in the Google Classroom. Okay, I've already downloaded this. I've got it in my downloads folder, and I'm just going to open it up real quick in Photoshop. Okay, I've worked recently in the motion timeline, so you'll notice my workspace is already set up for motion. But to get this project started, I'm just going to actually close this panel for right now. Okay, so I'm going to close the tab group. So there are a few things I want to do to prepare this image before I get started. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to select all because I want to isolate LeBron from the background. Okay, so in order to do that, I'm going to use my quick selection tool. I'm going to say select subject, and we're going to let the magic of AI go ahead and select it for us. This is a pretty good selection right here. Obviously, you know, if you wanted to, you could clean it up a little bit. Okay. After I do this selection, one of the things I want to do is I want to go to the select menu and I want to choose modify and feather. Okay. This is going to make the edges of my selection a little bit softer so they don't look quite so hard and cut out. This is a pretty low resolution image that we're working with, so I'm only going to feather it about 3 pixels. Okay. And once I've got that all feathered, my next move is actually going to be, so back in our Photoshop project right here, you see we've got the background. We made a selection of LeBron right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the edit menu, and I basically want to cut him out of the background there. Okay. I want to create a new layer. And in this new layer, I want to edit paste to put him back on to the project so I have him to work with later. And then I'm going to hide this. I'm going to go back to my background layer. Okay. I'm going to zoom in, and what I need to do is I need to get this whole area selected so I can use content aware fill. Okay. So in order to do that, a quick way to do it is hold down Control on the keyboard and click on your layer with just the cutout. And it's going to put a selection around that cutout. I can go ahead then and use any of the marquee tools like this elliptical marquee tool. And since I have a selection, I can grab on the inside there and I can move it around. I'm going to go ahead and position it where it needs to go. All right. And at this point, I want a content aware fill, but I also want to make sure I don't have this strange little glow, this feather on the outside. So I'm going to go to the select menu and I'm going to choose to modify a selection by expanding it. And that's just going to push it all out. So a few pixels out from where it is right now. I think 5 is a pretty good default. I'm going to click OK. At this point, I have a nice overlap. Looks like I forgot a little bit of the thumb, but we'll fine tune your own projects on your own time. So on this layer here, maybe let's just unlock it and let's go up here and let's go edit. And we're going to say that we want to use content aware fill. All right. It's going to come up with a preview here, which doesn't look too bad. I see the inside of him is really dark right here. So I think it's sampling a lot of this darker area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with this brush. I'm going to say I want to add to this green area. The green area is what it builds its content aware fill out of. And I'm just going to select a little bit at a time. Ooh, that looked really nice. Actually, it fixed it up really well. Okay. If I wanted to, I could go back in and fine tune this stuff a little bit with like another brush, maybe like a rubber stamp tool, but I'm going to say okay right now. And then you're going to see, boom, that's all going to get filled in. I can go ahead and do Control D to deselect. And now I've got my clean, reasonably clean background template. And then I've got LeBron over the top of it right here. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do before I move forward is I need to make each of these layers a smart object. Okay. So smart objects are going to allow me to animate them later so I can make changes to the project and it will keep track of what those changes are. Okay. So what I'm going to do is come right over here and I'm going to right click on this. Right click on the layer. And I'm going to say that I want to convert to smart object. Okay. So I'm going to convert that one to smart object, right click here, convert to smart object. Now I'm ready to get into the video timeline. So I'm going to go up to my window and I'm going to make sure I pull up timeline. Okay, and now down below here, we should have this button because it's a new project. Remember before we did frame animation, this time along we're doing a video timeline. So we're gonna go ahead and click video timeline, and you're gonna see if you've ever done any editing in Adobe Premiere or other programs, you might recognize a timeline and the way it's set up. But here we go, we have our time across the top in frames. The default is gonna be about 5 seconds, and there's about 24 frames per second. You can drop down these and you'll notice that you're going to have a bunch of options with little stopwatches next to them. Okay, and what these stopwatches do are they're going to allow me to set what we call keyframes to keep track of movements that I make. Okay, so starting right here on layer, I'm going to start down here with layer 0, and I'm going to turn on the stopwatch for transform keyframes. Okay, and so it's going to put a little dot on the timeline. And at this point in the timeline, it's going to keep track of how I've arranged this image. So what I would like to do, I want to keep, I actually want to zoom in on the image to begin with. So I'm going to go up here, I'm going to use my move tool, and I'm going to kind of zoom it in a little bit. I'm going to do it kind of dramatically so you can see, but this is something where once you understand the technique, you're going to play a lot with it just to get the timing and the smoothness down. All right, so I've zoomed in, and what's happening is this little keyframe right here is going to remember this setting that I have it on, okay? And then I'm going to go hit check to make sure I'm done, and I'm going to move my playhead here to the end, maybe not all the way to the end, maybe like maybe a second from the end, okay? And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the transformation. So here I'm going to push it in, okay, and make it just fit the screen right there. And when I do that, I should be able to set another keyframe after I hit check. Boom. Now we have a keyframe down here, and if you notice, as I move from one keyframe to the other, we actually see that background moving. Okay, so we've animated the motion from the first keyframe to the second keyframe. Okay, and what this is going to do is it's going to make it look like in this photograph the background is moving away from the viewer. Okay, which is pretty cool. And so to finish the 3D effect, we're going to go to the LeBron layer. All right, and on this one, what we're going to do is we're going to turn on our transform. Okay, and what I'm going to do on him is I'm going to do the opposite. So I'm going to move him where I want him to begin with here. So I'm going to maybe position him right here. And then as the background moves further away, I want him to move closer to the camera, which is going to make it feel like the background and the foreground are like separating from each other, which creates that 3D look. So I'm going to set this keyframe right here, position him where I want him to go, move the playhead to the 4-second point, and notice with this, if you want to, you can jump from keyframe to keyframe if you end up doing multiple moves in there. Okay, I'm going to go to this keyframe, and this time around, I'm going to make him get bigger, and I'm going to make him approach the hoop a little bit more. Okay, maybe just about like that, pretty subtle. I'm going to hit the check mark. That's going to put another keyframe down here in my timeline, and at this point, I can go ahead and click play. Oops, let's go back, put our playhead at the beginning, and I play this. Let's see what it looks like. There you go. It's rendering the first time around, so it's going to move rather slowly, okay, while it kind of builds the frames and sees what it's going to look like. But once it's done, making it all the way through, we're going to be able to play it back again. There we go, and now you can get a better sense of what that's going to look like. Now, all these keyframes can be edited, so if I want to, I can move to a keyframe, and if I wanted this to last a little bit longer, I can stretch it out. I can make it reach that endpoint at 4.5 seconds, okay? Or in the middle of it, if I wanted to change something, I could go ahead and add another keyframe, and I can add an edit to this, so he goes somewhere else in the middle of it. In which case you're going to have some kind of wonky, jittery movement where he's going to move around. At a certain point, it starts looking a little bit artificial. You know, our goal with the 2.5D parallax is to really make it feel like an authentic photograph that's slowly separating, so you have that 3D look. Okay. So my last step here is going to be me clicking on these, this little pancake stack right here, and what I want to do is I want to select render video. Okay. And when I click render video, it's going to take a little bit because it's going to have to kind of process what we've created. And it's going to bring up this box right here. But it's going to be saving the file as an MP4 file. So I'm going to call this Heimerdinger underscore 25D. Can't use periods in this demo. And then we can select which folder it's going to go into. Right now, it's going into my downloads folder because that's where the image came from. The rest of it you can leave as is. And I'm just going to go ahead and click render. And at this point, the software is building an MP4 file out of this thing that I made. Okay. Obviously, this concept can be expanded, just like everything we're exploring this week in animation and movement in Photoshop. We're just kind of getting the basic tools down, and you guys can innovate this and play with it and push it any way you want and come up with some really cool results. All right. So there you go. That's the 2.5D effect. Good luck with it. Call me over if you need any help.